Have you ever heard the story of Japanese people cutting down an entire tree just because someone asked for a few fruits or wanted to take a picture of it? It sounds a bit unbelievable, right? In Vietnam, if a family has a custard apple, mango, or apple tree laden with fruit, the neighborhood kids might sneak over to pick some, but no one would ever cut down the tree. At most, they'd get a scolding, and then things would go back to normal. In fact, the more fruit a tree bears, the more the owners tend to show it off. They might say, "Look at my mango tree this year. It's overflowing with fruit. We can't even eat it all, so we're sharing it with the whole neighborhood." However, in Japan, many Vietnamese trainees and international students have recounted stories where they casually ask their hosts for a few apples or persimmons from a tree laden with fruit after coming home from work. The hosts would smile broadly and happily give them some. But the next day, when they returned, the tree would be gone, completely chopped down, with no trace of it left. Similar stories also circulate about taking photos or checking in at certain places. In Vietnam, this is all perfectly normal. If we have something beautiful or interesting, we're happy for people to come and appreciate it. But in Japan, things are different. This kind of story surprises many people, and it has spread through newspapers, online media, and social networks, becoming a sort of Japanese urban legend. But what's the real story? Do Japanese people truly have such unspoken rules, or are these just isolated incidents that have been blown out of proportion? And more importantly, if such a practice exists, why do they act this way? The act of cutting down a tree after someone asks for fruit shocks us mainly because it's completely contrary to Vietnamese customs. In Vietnam, fruit trees are closely linked to childhood memories. Almost everyone has memories of climbing guava trees, picking star fruit to eat under the trees. Sometimes, even just complimenting a beautiful, fruit-laden tree as you pass by can prompt the owner to pick some fruit for you to take home. Vietnamese people consider this normal, a sign of hospitality. Fruit is meant to be eaten, and sharing it with others is a blessing, a source of joy. But the Japanese are very different. This seemingly small story reveals profound cultural differences between the two countries and peoples. Vietnamese people are surprised, even shocked, because they find it incredibly stingy. However, the Japanese may not see it that way at all. For them, cutting down the tree is a logical decision. The Japanese have long been known as a reserved people who value personal boundaries. In their culture, not bothering others is almost a guiding principle in social interactions. This is deeply ingrained, from speaking softly in public to staying quiet on trains, and even in the way they build their houses, with high walls, enclosed fences, and closed windows to limit the gaze of neighbors. Therefore, for them, having someone ask for fruit from a tree in their garden is not simply about giving or not giving, but an intrusion into their private space. One instance might be okay, but if one person asks today and another person sees and copies them tomorrow, then the tree will inadvertently become an excuse for many strangers to visit. Their space, which was originally private, will now become a place where outsiders pay attention and even scrutinize. The Japanese are very sensitive to being watched. They don't like others judging their way of life, nor do they want to be talked about. That house has a tree laden with fruit. Who did they give it to? In a society that values faith and peace, this is considered troublesome. To solve the problem decisively, many people choose a radical but clean solution: cutting down the tree. Once the tree is gone, no one can ask for fruit. No one can pick it without permission, and no one has a reason to pry. This gives the homeowner absolute peace of mind, without having to worry about explaining things, refusing requests, or fearing gossip. It may seem a bit extreme to cut down an entire tree just for a few fruits, but it accurately reflects the Japanese philosophy. Rather prevent problems from the outset than face the hassle of explaining, arguing, or dealing with unnecessary troubles later. For example, in Vietnam, if a neighbor asks for a mango, we'd give them not just one, but several, and even say, "Go ahead and eat them. My mangoes are so sour, they're falling all over the yard anyway." But in Japan, after giving a mango, they'd have to think about whether they'd come back to ask again, whether others would see and ask too, and if they didn't give, whether they'd be considered stingy. This series of questions makes the Japanese uncomfortable, and the solution of cutting down the tree becomes a thorough and neat way to deal with the problem. In true Japanese style, they like cleanliness, clarity, and dislike fuss. That's the reason related to culture and lifestyle. Another important reason why the Japanese are willing to cut down a tree for fear that others will ask for fruit is legal liability. In Japan, the legal system is extremely strict, and the concept of responsibility is very different from the way we think in Vietnam. In Vietnam, if a neighborhood child climbs into someone's yard to steal a guava and falls, the common reaction is for the parents to scold the child. "Why did you steal and fall?" The homeowner might even add, "That'll teach you not to steal, not to be greedy," meaning the fault lies entirely with the child, and no one thinks the homeowner is responsible. But in Japan, things are completely different. There, the concepts of responsibility and property management are very clear. If you own a house, a garden, or even a tree, you must ensure that your property does not pose a danger to others. Even if someone trespasses, the court can still consider your responsibility. For example, if someone climbs over the fence to pick fruit and breaks their leg, they can sue the homeowner for not ensuring safety, and in many cases, the court will order the homeowner to compensate them. There have been cases where houses were sued just because a tree branch fell on the road and scratched a car, or a persimmon fell on a pedestrian. The homeowner had to pay damages, sometimes up to hundreds of thousands of yen. Therefore, many Japanese choose to be absolutely safe. Instead of having a fruit tree in the garden, which could attract strangers, children, or even animals, they cut it down for simplicity. Without the tree, there's no risk, and most importantly, no one can sue them. In Japan, being sued it is no small matter. Even a seemingly trivial case can lead to a large compensation payment. Just thinking about that prospect makes many Japanese feel it's a much bigger loss than the joy of keeping the tree in the garden for others to ask for a few fruits. For example, there was a shocking incident in Kanagawa Prefecture, where an old tree by the road in a residential area suddenly fell, crushing a passing cyclist to death. After investigation, the court concluded that the local government was negligent in inspecting and pruning the tree. As a result, they had to pay a lot of money in compensation. Since then, many Japanese families have worried that if a tree in their garden falls, drops fruit, or breaks a branch and causes an accident to others, they too will be sued like the government. There was another, less serious, but still costly case. A family in Kyoto had a persimmon tree laden with fruit planted right next to a public walkway. In the fall, a persimmon fell and an elderly woman slipped and broke her bone. As a result, the family had to pay for her medical expenses plus compensation for emotional distress. In Vietnam, the thinking about law is very different. People believe that whoever does something is responsible for the consequences. If children are mischievous, they should bear the consequences themselves. The parents might even apologize to the homeowner because their child climbed the tree. This difference is a major reason why Vietnamese people are shocked by the actions of the Japanese. One side considers it the child's fault, while the other considers it the homeowner's responsibility. Another aspect of Japanese culture is that they don't like to be indebted to anyone, nor do they want anyone to be indebted to them. If they give once, what if you ask again next time? And if they don't give, they might be considered stingy. So the quickest way to end the problem is to eliminate the tree and the fruit altogether, so no one can ask. But are all Japanese people like that? Absolutely not. This is the important point. The story of asking for fruit and cutting down the tree only happens in some cases. Many Japanese people are also gentle, friendly, and happy to pick fruit for their neighbors. But because the contrast is so strong compared to Vietnamese customs, a few negative stories stand out and become urban legends, just like the story of tourists being ripped off in Vietnam. Not all Vietnamese people are like that, but just a few cases spread, and international visitors will remember it forever. The story of the Japanese cutting down trees, viewed broadly, is a shocking lesson about culture. When living in a country where you encounter things that are completely contrary to your customs at home, don't rush to conclude that they are strange or stingy. Try to understand the reasons behind it. The Japanese cut down trees not because they hate people asking for fruit, but because they want to avoid trouble, avoid legal complications, and maintain their privacy. It reflects the Japanese society's discipline, avoidance of conflict, and emphasis on neatness. Vietnamese people, on the other hand, are open, value emotions, and like to share. Thank you for your interest in following this story. If you find it interesting, you can click the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share it. And now, goodbye.